What's up, everyone? We are back with a brand new bait edition. Wanted to wait for the right time to do this one bait. It had to get cold. I just had to wait for it to get cold. If it wasn't cold, I wasn't going to do the bait. Not that you need it cold to throw this bait, but that's when it starts to get really popular, and I think it just gets easier. It just gets easier to catch fish on it. Now, this bait is legendary. Legendary, at least from where I'm from. Not just Texas, but just literally the lake that I have kind of called my own for the last couple of years, which is Rayburn. They even got colors named after Rayburn, right? Rayburn red, things like that. So what are we talking about? The Red Eye. What a bait! What a legendary bait! What a iconic bait! It's stood the test of time for sure. Anytime the water starts getting down into the 50s, this bait becomes freaking the deal. Now, it stays the deal all the way through the pre-spawn, through the spawn, even into the post-spawn, even during the shad spawn. Now, will it catch fish year-round? Yes, and people throw it year-round. I think sometimes people forget about it, though, as the temperatures get warmer and we get into the summertime, and I get it, but it is probably the one bait you can catch fish on 12 months out of the year, for sure. Now, let's talk about it a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit exclusively about the Red Eye. One, because, yeah, I know, it's a Strike King bait, but the Red Eye was built differently for a reason. There's been hundreds of copies of, I guess, the rattle trap, things like that. The rattle trap is still, it's still up there. It's still a fish catcher. It's crazy. I mean, there's guys that will not throw anything but the rattle trap. So the Red Eye was built for a specific reason, though. I have baits, like all baits catch fish, right? So there are some baits out there that no matter what, they will always catch fish, even if they don't work right. But I'm a guy who likes to build baits. I design baits for Strike King. So I always build a bait with a purpose, right? It's a purpose, and it's not just going to be, oh, here it is, let me throw it out there and hope it catches a fish. I think as we start to fish more and more, baits now are becoming a little bit more technical in how they work, and I think that's just because we have to trick fish. You know, they're harder to trick, right? So we need something that works with more of a purpose. That's what the Red Eye is for. When they designed this bait, okay, basically it got designed down here, I guarantee you, from all the grass fishing on Rayburn and Toledo. That's where it became popular. Places like Gunnersville, you know, any lake that has a bunch of grass, and they can throw this bait around. Now, we've all heard of like ripping the trap out of the grass, right? So we get in the grass, we rip it out, and that's how we catch fish, right? Now you can just throw it out there and reel it in. You can throw it out there slow and reel it in. You can burn it. You can do all those things. But ripping it out of the grass was a thing, and it caught a lot of big ones, and it's actually really a lot of fun. Now, a lot of these baits, if they're not designed the right way, when you rip them out, they all catch fish reeling it, right? And sometimes when you rip it out of the grass and you pop it out and it comes out of the grass like that and it goes nuts, it'll usually go nuts pretty good right there. But when you stop it and it falls, if it's not designed the right way, it kind of goes a lot of different directions. A lot of times it doesn't even look that good. It just kind of flows and it doesn't look right. Well, we designed this bait for a reason. So when you pop it out of the grass, instead of it just going all different ways, getting hung up in the grass, it falling on its side, this thing comes up and then it's built so it shimmies just like this down, okay? So it basically in slow motion, it does this down. So as it rips up, it shimmies down where this is still facing you like this. So it's not on its side, it's not kind of going cockeyed, it's shimmying down, and that's a better way for you to use it. It's more effective. That way, if you wanted to rip it again, it's going to work right. A lot of the other ones, sometimes the hook gets messed up around the line. It's not running right. I think fish turn away from that. They like that fall like that, okay? I'm allowed to let this fall at a further distance too. If it goes all crazy, it doesn't fall the right way. A lot of times I want to rip it out and let this fall for a couple seconds. A lot of times it takes that long for one to eat it. It's actually watching as it comes down, and as it's shimmying down, they eat it. So it was designed a specific way. That's why I really like the Red Eye over most other ones, because of that one purpose. That's it. I mean, they all kind of catch them with the rattle, and we're going to get into the whole rattling part and the color part and why they hit it. But that's really the main reason why I throw this bait. Now, we've made a couple different sizes. We have the 3/4, the 1/2 ounce, the quarter. I never really threw the quarter much. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really start throwing the quarter. I did a pro team journal with Todd Faircloth, who once again from down here made his name on Raven before he ever went pro. We were doing a show. It was a tough time. It was earlier in the year, and we were catching some fish, and he broke out a 1/4 ounce for some fish that were feeding on really, really small shad and started catching them on it. So he kind of opened my eyes like, okay, hey, look, that 1/4 ounce will catch some big ones too. This is the regular Red Eye, okay? It's got the regular rattles. You can hear it's got a bunch of little BBs in there. We now have, obviously, the 2-tap, okay? The 2-tap has 1 or 2 rattles in there, and you can hear it. They're more of like a single knocking bait. It's one of those things. Sometimes this works really good. Sometimes this works really good. You just kind of have to figure that out. That's what I wanted to talk about. From a guy who just likes to just catch fish, all these baits work. And what I mean by all these, this is my Red Eye box, right? I have basically every color in here that I really need. We make a bunch more, but I literally, it's almost too many options for me. This is my only problem with this bait. They all work. They all catch fish. And the colors and the sound, man, that's where I start having issues. Okay, so let me explain. The good part about that bait is, yes, they all catch fish. The bad part is sometimes certain colors work better than others. Now, if you're just fishing and you're just fun fishing, who cares, right? Just go out there, tie a bunch of different colors on, throw them all, whatever, right? Catch a bunch of fish. I'm usually out there trying to fish a tournament. So I'm in tournament mode, and I'm trying to figure out what's the best color to throw this day, because that's the crazy part. Of all the other baits I've ever seen, of every bait, I'm talking about every single one of them, this is the only one I've ever seen where color matters from day to day. You know, I'm talking about same conditions, same everything. I have seen color, that the change of a color will catch a couple more fish than another color. And it could be 10 different colors on 10 different days. It's crazy to me. And a lot of us around here talk about that. And when I mean around here, a lot of us guys who fish a lot of tournaments and throw this bait, we have co-anglers that throw this bait, and we see those color changes matter from day to day. It's very hard. It's very frustrating at times, because you can see that happen, and then how do you adjust for that? And maybe by the time you adjust, the tournament's over, right? So that's probably my only problem, is that since all the colors catch fish, sometimes too many options, you know, are a hard thing to deal with. Now, I try to stick basically to a couple colors, just for me, right off the bat. Now, red, the Raven Red, and we make a bunch of different Raven Reds, or what you want to call Raven Red. We a whole bunch of reds. We kind of make that because across the country, people want certain kind of reds, or this kind of orange, or this kind of red, and with this kind of black on the. I get it, right? I just usually pick some type of red and go to throwing it. Okay, that's usually what I'll throw when it gets really, really cold, and it gets more of the pre-spawn. For right now, though, for before it gets cold, when it's just starting to get cold, like right now, it's in the 30s, but it just got in the 30s. The water temp still hasn't dipped down into the 50s yet. So I'm throwing mainly shad color, golds, a natural shad. I mean, any kind of shad color bait. That's usually what I'm throwing this time of year, and it's usually going to be either a chromey style or a flat paint style. As it starts getting on into that colder, that really cold pre-spawn, I'll go with the red. I'll go a lot with like a brownish orange, or I'll just go with a black and gold. I will throw a clear one, right? There's times I'll throw a clear one, and that's really if the water is really, really clear. And then sometimes I'll just tie on, I'll be honest, just something different, just something random, something different. Maybe I'm like, hey, I haven't thrown that color in a year or two. I'll do that because this is the other thing with this bait. These baits, there's only a couple of them that have stood the test of time. Okay, the Rattle Trap's one, the Red Eye's one, I think the Excalibur One Knocker's one. They make so many different baits like this because it's a fairly easy bait to make for certain companies. And those baits work fairly good for the first year or two. I think they work like that because fish have never heard them before. They have a little bit different sound, a little bit different vibration. And they'll work for a year or two. And then they fall into every other category where they just become just normal and there's nothing special about them. Like I said, this one has a purpose. So after it loses its new luster, right? I want a bait that actually is going to work 4, 5, 10, 20 years down the road. And a couple of those baits, there's just a couple that have done that. This is one of them. Be leery of that. When you go buy one, like I said, some of them will work for a year or two, and then they don't, that newness wears off of them and they're not as good. So I try to stick with a couple of these baits, a couple of these colors, and you know, if I'm by myself, I just got to stick with it and throw it. Now, sometimes I have someone in the boat with me. Sometimes you might have 2 or 3 people in the boat with you. Put on different colors, different sizes, and go with it. And usually throughout the day, if everyone just switched one time, that's 6 different baits, 6 different colors. You're gonna probably find out the color that's catching them a little bit better, because that's what we're always trying to find. Very frustrating on tournament day if you're trying to figure this out. Very frustrating. I promise you, it drives me nuts sometimes because it's always in the back of my head. I'm like, am I throwing the right color today? Yes, I can still get bit, but man, I can't tell you how many times a conger in the back, my fishing partner, whatever it is all of a sudden just catches 2 giants back there and I'm going, yep, I'm throwing the wrong color. It is what it is. It's all part of it. That's the frustrating part about this bait. It really is. But it's hard to complain when it catches fish, right? Because it's going to catch fish. I can go out there and throw this bait every single day from now for the next 4 or 5 months and catch fish on it every single day. There's not many baits I can say that about. Then I don't care about the conditions. I mean, it is great under calm, windy, dirty, clear, sunny, cold, warm, doesn't matter. From here on out, I can go catch fish on this every single day. I probably should do a 1-rod challenge on this. I probably should. And I probably will in the next couple of weeks. I'll go out there, pick a day, and go throw this all day long. Also, stay tuned. I talked to a buddy of mine, Chris McCall. Chris McCall's from down here at Rayburn. Fished the tour for a long, long time. Probably won more tournaments on Rayburn and Toledo than anyone else on a trap style bait. Now, I don't know what trap. Maybe we'll talk about that. I don't know if it's this one, if it's a rattle trap, if it's something different. I don't know. But I know he has thrown a bait like this and is known for it. I called him up last night and I said, hey man, let's do a podcast. I want to get into this, into more depth about all this stuff and see what he has to say about that. Maybe he'll give up some secrets. I don't know, but I want to hear his thoughts because I don't know if there's anyone in the country that's caught more fish on that bait than him. So I'm going to have him on in the next couple of days, hopefully, maybe in the next week or 2. We'll get that going, and it should be a really, really good one, guys. All right. Hope y'all have enjoyed a little bit on the Red Eye. It's one of those deals, man. You can't really mess up with this bait. Go tie it on, throw it out there. It's one of the easiest baits to go out there and catch fish on. I promise. All right. See you guys.